and that's going to do something. Of course, emissions are going up.
Why have we lowered ours?
We have lowered ours largely because of good old capitalism and technology, discovering that we were not running out of natural gas, that if we just break rocks underneath our feet, we can extract the natural gas from shale. And fracking, that's right. And so we're substituting natural gas, which is cheaper, for coal for electrical generation. And that produces about half as much CO2 per unit electricity as a coal plant does. And so our emissions are going down. And I see a lot of big companies are experimenting with natural gas for large-scale transportation. You can do it on a railroad because the size of the engine really doesn't matter. Might be able to do it in trucks. And so the emissions, it's more efficient. The emissions go down. And then 30 or 40 years from now, because there are so many pressures to be efficient, I don't know what technology we'll have, but I'll bet it'll be more efficient. You know, the old advertising slogan, the future belongs to the efficient. Well, welcome to the United States.
We'll be right back. Why do the media do such a lousy job in reporting basic information like you're explaining to us right now?
Well, the end of the world sells. Look at the ratings for the Weather Channel every time that there's even a modest hurricane. And if you are predicting and projecting global weather and climate Armageddon, people are going to tune in. And even if it doesn't happen the way it's supposed to, well, you don't really have to report that, do you? You don't have to report that the climate models are predicting way too much tropical warming and all that good stuff. No, you can just keep on going as you will. There's a niche, though. I've often thought of this. Wouldn't there be a market for a good weather channel that just, had pictures of the beach and bright sunny days with advertisers, Anheuser-Busch and Viagra? It would work, I'm sure.
There's an opening right there.
Yeah.
But it's a great disservice. I see this across the board on a lot of cultural, social, scientific issues where the free press doesn't provide information, doesn't provide facts. It provides ideologically pushed policies. And this is particularly troublesome to me in this area because there's a lot of correcting that needs to be done. So it's politicized. It becomes an ideological movement. We talked about that. People want to raise objections to it. You've come under a barrage of assaults, as I've seen.
Not very pretty.
Not very pretty, simply because you say, "No, wait a minute. I have different information that shows something else." What's it like?
It's not fun, but it must be enough fun that I continue to keep on doing it. The problem is that a lot of the journalistic profession, a lot of people go into it because they're idealistic, they want to change the world. And my God, here's an issue that affects the energy structure of our society, which is really affects our society, and I can be involved in this. And so then they form pressure groups or internal lobbying groups like the Society of Environmental Journalists. And
I didn't know there was one.
Oh, yeah. And very powerful within the profession. And it enforces a speech line. There are certain things you don't say, there are certain things you say. And they have annual conferences where the lights of issues like climate change come and give them lectures about the end of the world. So it's a self-feeding process, and it's an institution.
Is the EPA a good agency or a bad agency? When you hear about it, you say, well, clean air, clean water, saves the polar bears, but do they really interfere, overregulate, and make progress that much more difficult?
Well, the polar bears are saving themselves, and they're growing in numbers. The EPA was the outgrowth of the early environmental movement in the United States. It was created by Richard Nixon, and by the way, the air in some of our air sheds was crap.
By the way, we're going to finish with this when we get back. We'll be right back. EPA started under Nixon. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, it had a lot of work to do when it started out. We had really serious air quality problems in the country, and the EPA did a great job with that. It succeeded in controlling sulfur and nitrogen oxides that came out of power plants, acid rain and all that good stuff. But unfortunately, like most bureaucracies, one of the easy, low-hanging fruit are the things you get, and then you start to get more arcane, but your bureaucracy is embedded, and then the agency takes on a life of itself, and that's what's happened. Can it be fixed? Yeah, it could be. We could take a look at the endangerment finding from carbon dioxide and see how scientifically well supported or non-supported it is. I think that would go a long way. And then we would have a much more sensible policy. We would not be shooting ourselves in the energy foot like we are, and we would continue to maintain our society at a high level.
True enough. Problem is, when you have people who are embedded in these agencies,
yes,
who are not willing to do as you say, or are ideologically driven, or are there for decades, and they have, as you say, their agenda, and they're going to drive their agenda, this becomes a huge problem. Let me tell you, it's been a great pleasure.
Yeah, it was great fun.
All right. Thanks very much.
Bye.
See you next time on Life, Liberty, and Levin.